In 1992, Whitney Houston walked into a recording studio and sang a song that wasn't written for her. A song that had already been a hit twice. A song that would become her signature and make her immortal. This is the story of how three women across 3 decades turned a simple goodbye into the greatest love ballad of all time. It started with Dolly Parton, who stood at a crossroads. After 7 years as the featured performer on the Porter Wagoner show, she felt it was time to step out on her own. But saying goodbye wasn't easy, not to someone who had helped launch her career.
My mind, but you never asked me if I'd like to
Darling,
come along.
the time is all gone, and there's something fishy going on if we don't get off. So we'll see you next week. And sorry we run out of time.
In 1974, she walked into Porter Wagoner's office and sang him something she'd written the night before.
I'd like to do a song for you now that I wrote. This is a song that I had out a few months back, and hope maybe you might enjoy this one.
It was personal, respectful, but final.
I should stay, thank you, I would only be in.
Wagoner didn't take it well. After she left the show, he launched a wave of negative press and eventually threatened to sue her for $3 million.
To me, Dolly Parton is the kind of person that I would never trust with anything of mine. I mean, her family, her own blood, she would turn her back on to help herself. I'm not that kind of person. I don't care about talking about it because most people would think I'm bitter. You know, Dolly, I'm not bitter.
They settled out of court. Dolly ended up paying him $1 million, money she didn't have at the time. It took her years to repay it. But she kept something more valuable than money, her publishing rights. Released in March of 1974, I Will Always Love You reached #1 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart. Then came a twist that would change everything. Elvis Presley wanted to record it.
Well, actually, Elvis loved the song. That was when he and Priscilla were having their problems, which I met her recently, and she told me that Elvis loved that song, and he had sung that to her on the day of their divorce. He said he kind of leaned in and sang a little bit of I Will Always Love You, and so she told me how much that he loved that song, because this was recently we were
Dolly said no.
And Colonel Tom Parker calls me the day before and says, now you do know that Elvis is recording your song, and you do know that Elvis don't record anything that he don't publish, or at least get half the publishing on.
It broke her heart, but it was the smartest decision she ever made.
You know the song. I said, I can't do that. This song's already been a hit with me, and this is in my publishing company, and obviously this is going to be one of my most important copyrights, and I can't give you half the publishing. Of course, that's stuff that I'm leaving for my family. And he said, well, then we can't record the song. And I was just heartbroken. I said, well, I'm really sorry.
What happened next has been almost forgotten by music history. In 1975, Linda Ronstadt recorded her own version of I Will Always Love You. It wasn't a country ballad anymore. It was a soaring, emotional powerhouse that transformed Dolly's gentle goodbye into something cinematic. But Linda made one crucial change. She left out the final verse. Dolly had to send it to her personally. Linda's version didn't become a massive hit, but it did something more important. It showed how the song could sound outside of country music. It planted a seed that would bloom 17 years later. We'll always love you. This is where Kevin Costner comes into the picture. He had a dream to turn The Bodyguard into a major film. For years, the project sat in limbo. When it finally moved forward, he knew exactly who he wanted to star alongside him: Whitney Houston. He believed in her so much, he delayed filming for a full year just to wait for her. But they had a problem with the theme song. Originally, they planned to use What Becomes of the Broken Hearted. Producer David Foster even recorded 2 demos. But Whitney wasn't convinced.
We were on a mission searching for songs for The Bodyguard. What would be the song that is going to make this movie tie together? Kevin and I, of course, went through. Kevin's a music lover, so he knows all the old songs, new songs. He loves it. So he kind of went through his little collection and he came up with songs that...
Then fate intervened.
One day I was in the trailer and we heard Dolly Parton's song before, and I went by it. You said, you must listen to the song. I cleared the trailer and I listened to the song and it hit me.
Costner had another idea. Why not make Whitney sing the song for the movie? That too, a cappella.
I said, I'll tell you what. For the movie version, we'll do that. But when I make the record version, I'm going to put music around it. He said, okay, well, whatever you want to do for the record. But in my movie, she's going to start a cappella.
Foster was horrified. Are you kidding me? You can't start a record that way. It won't get on the radio. But Costner insisted.
I'd be too sure they won't play it on the radio. I said, but for me, Whitney was doing almost an apology moment at that point. And what better way to let somebody know they really mean what they're singing to you when they say, I don't even need the music behind me. Let me sing to you
directly
what I feel about you. And of course, the band kicks in, and we know when it does, the hair on your arm stands up.
Yeah.
The final decision came down to Clive Davis, head of Arista Records. When he heard the rough mix with the a cappella opening, he knew they had something special. It was raw and haunting and so emotionally impactful, Davis recalled. When Warner Brothers pressured him for a radio-friendly version with added instrumentation, Davis made the call that changed music history. They would release the a cappella version as the single. But here's the crucial detail. It wasn't Dolly's version that inspired them. It was Linda Ronstadt's forgotten recording from 1975. In the studio, Whitney Houston did what legends do. She recorded I Will Always Love You in just 2 takes. The first take, the one that would become immortal, was the one they used. No elaborate production tricks, no endless studio sessions. Just Whitney, a microphone, and a song that had been waiting 17 years for the right voice. When the film became a blockbuster and the soundtrack became the best-selling movie soundtrack of all time, Dolly Parton was driving from her office in Nashville to her house when she first heard Whitney's version on the radio.
And I was driving home in my car from my office, going through Brentwood, a little town out where I live, and in Nashville. And I just heard this voice come on the radio, like, if I should stay. It was like, it kind of rang a bell, but it didn't hit because she was kind of talking it.
To say she was impressed would be an understatement.
It went into the I Will Always Love You part, and I had to pull off the side of the road, seriously, to listen to it. But it was one of the most overwhelming feelings I've ever had, to hear that done so well, so beautiful, so big. Had no idea I'd written a song that could be that important, and I didn't. I think she just took it and made it so much.
The song earned Dolly an estimated $6 to $10 million in royalties during the 1990s, money she would later use to buy back her own music publishing rights and support multiple charitable causes. There's a story that almost happened, one that fans still dream about. Rumors persist that there was an opportunity for Dolly and Whitney to record a duet version together. The details remain unclear, but the collaboration never materialized. What we do know is that Whitney's version became so definitive that many people don't even realize Dolly wrote it.
But that's when I realized that the song was really important and could be done anyway. It was overwhelming. People say, well, that's Whitney's song. I said, that's fine. You can give her the credit. I just want the cash. So send that check on to me. But it was her song, the way that she did that to make that such a worldwide.
When Whitney Houston passed away on February 11th of 2012, the world turned to I Will Always Love You again. The very next night, Jennifer Hudson performed it at the Grammy Awards in tribute. The song returned to the Billboard Top 10. It had become Whitney's defining song, even though she didn't write a single word. 3 women, 3 decades, 1 masterpiece. Dolly Parton wrote it as a private farewell, a gentle country goodbye that came from the heart. Linda Ronstadt reimagined it, showing how those simple words could soar beyond genre, beyond expectation. Whitney Houston made it immortal, taking that forgotten blueprint and creating something that transcends time itself.